Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to get into our super custom, and the main formation, not main formation, but the formation that we come out in is going to be the gun Snugs flipped. Now the reason that we do this is because we have two different packages that we can use that don't require us to keep subbing in and out our players. So a lot of times, especially in leagues when you can actually boost stats, and sometimes you just want to have tight ends to help in run blocking and so forth. If you know you're running the ball, for instance, with an inside zone, you want tight ends out there. You want big guys. Well, if you're stuck in a passing situation, you may want four receivers on the field. You may not want those tight ends. And this formation gives us the ability to pick and choose what we want simply by choosing which package. So like as you see right now, you see dual tight end slot. That's going to put 84, I believe, is Gresham. 85 is Daniel Fells, I believe. So we have two tight ends in the field. Now, if we go to strong slots, now we have two receivers. Now we have, I believe it is John Brown and Jaron Brown. But picking and choosing what we want, so for instance, we'll come out and say we know we want to run the ball. Say our opponent's sitting in a goofy defense, they're dollar two-man under. Well, if we just want to run the ball, we can get the extra tight ends out on the field. That way, nobody's going to block shit. Say we know we're going to audible around. Say we know we're going to, for instance, audible down to a toss. Well, if we're going to audible to a toss, we want tight ends out there instead of, little receivers. Or even an inside zone. So obviously, it's all the same concept. If you want an inside zone, so say we want to go to a quick inside zone. Well, now we have tight ends instead of receivers. So now we can get that extra blocking. But third and long, they're just blowing up your run regardless what you do. Well, at that point, there's no point in having two tight ends in the field unless you're trying to face catch. And we're not going to face catch to the slot anyway. So what we do is we then go to strong slots, and now we have four receivers on the field, as you see here. So it's just dominant. I mean, it's a nice little way to mix up and pick and choose what we want to do ahead of time. Now, when doing this, you will need to sub out the... So if you look at the package, when you first go to the strong slot formation, on this far right-hand side, that guy becomes a tight end. So you simply just go in there, you adjust it to whoever you want. In this case, obviously, we want it to be Fitz, the best receiver that we have. But once you do that, now you got the four wide. I mean, say you want to go back. Say you want one tight end on the field. Well, you could still just go to tight end sub, or you could go to, wide receiver flip. Any of these packages are going to put that tight end back in the game. So, like I said, it's very easy to pick and choose our personnel without having to go from one to another. Just subbing everybody in all these different formations. Now, another thing we like, or I like, when we go to strong slots. So you'll see that typically number 13, the guy that's in the slot, say we know ahead of time we just want to run fullback inside. Say our opponent is struggling to stop fullback inside. It's a very difficult run to stop. Well, we can audible to this, and now we have a receiver in the backfield. So now we have a guy with some speed. If you're playing with a slow running back, obviously you don't want him there, but you could have a fast running back, and this is the way that you do it. Now, if you use any other package, it's putting a tight end back there. So that's why we needed a four wide out type look, is because we do run a lot of fullback inside just because it is so effective. So now that we've gotten into the base, let's go over the actual passing plays that we use. So the plays that we use, we have four passing plays. We use PA cross shot, which Zan broke down magnificently for the Madden Daily tips a few weeks back. We use PA Bear Wheels, and this play is specifically designed to beat cover 2. Mesh is our main play. We run this against essentially everything but cover 2, and Brown Switch is kind of a hybrid. So you can do stuff, you can do the same concepts, we're just kind of disguising what we're doing. PA Cross Shot's kind of its own little breed, so to speak. This is the play that we're going to try to bomb. We're also utilizing motion to flood zones. It's overall a phenomenal play. You can also use that to beat cover 2. So, once again, cover 2 gets beat by all 3 of these plays. It gets beat for huge touchdowns on PA Bear Wheels, and then Mesh Switch for essentially everything else. So, we'll get started. We'll show the play PA Bear Wheels to get it out of the way. And like I said, this is only good versus a cover 2 defense. So we're going to come out in dime, cover 2. Alright. So throughout the course of a game, you can tend to pick up and see what your opponent's doing. If they're running a lot of cover 2, you could simply just come out in this play. But as you see here, the wheels just get wide open. You get it to both sides, and there's really no way to stop it. Now, what I'd like to do is I like to block that extra running back just to give us a little bit more time. As you see, any stock play action play gets bad block shedding, and then you add in the fact that I'm in practice mode and this is just all bad. But I mean, you can see I threw it a bit too early right there. So you do got to pay attention to when you're throwing this. We'll go ahead and try it again. And this play is really good with a mobile quarterback because you can get out of the pocket. But you got it to both sides. Very simple play to run if your opponent is hellbent in being in a cover 2. So moving along, Brown Switch. We broke this down early in the year. This is still a phenomenal play. We are utilizing this to beat cover 2 as well. And we do it 2 separate ways. So we can flat the outside left guy, fade the inside guy on the left, and then motion him to the outside. What this is going to do is it should pull that down, and depending on your receiver and everything, you might be able to throw that in there, especially if the safety is in the middle of the field. But the main thing that you're looking for on this play, and the main setup I use, is I slant outside left and I slant the inside left, and then I'm just going to motion this guy out and hike before he sets to kind of create the overload with the dual slants. In a cover 2, if they take any of those linebackers and they rush out to guard this, you're going to have one of the 2 slants wide open. So once again, you are streaking outside right, you are slanting both guys on the left, and then you are motioning out the slot guy, and that's it. So I mean, you're flooding the zone. You're flooding a cover 2. The dual motions on the slants are going to beat anything really. I mean, just all depends on what zone they are in on when you throw it. So as long as you're making decent reads, for instance, you can, hit that one. You could hit the other one depending on if they, who the user is. Overall, once again, it's a solid play. So you got it right here. Cut across. Just chuck it to him. The guy that's in the flat on the right is essentially a decoy for me. I don't really throw to him too much. The running back, he's simply there to pull down the zone. Now, say I want to, 100% do something glitchy. I could motion this. So this is, once again, it's going to flood the cover 2, but it allows us to have that built-in playmaker against man coverage. So we're going to streak both outside guys. We're going to flat the slot guy on the left, and we are going to curl the running back. Then we're going to motion the flat over to the right. Hike as he sets. Now you see we got the glitchy playmaker, just in case they were in man. We'll go to instant replay real quick and show you what I'm talking about. So, simply putting them on a curl and then holding the playmaker to the right. And you see the running back gets that little turbo. So now you can chuck it to him. If they bite down with the safeties, say they're in a cover 3 or something, you can bomb them in the seams. And then obviously you got the bomb to the right on the wheel. So absolutely kills cover 2 defense. Now, if they're in anything else, we'll go ahead, we'll show you a cover, let's see, cover 3 or we'll go cover, we'll see what happens. We'll go cover 4. So if they're in a cover 4, the main setup I run is the streak on the right and dual slants on the left. And that's because we're going to be hitting whichever guy gets open. You got the dual slants quickly, and then you got the wheel. So the wheel's not guaranteed to get open, but it will periodically, especially against cover 2 defenses. So you see, you could throw that even against a cover 4. You just kind of got to get the timing down with this play. Obviously, this is not going to be a setup you run heavy if your opponent is just hell-bent on blitzing you. So, pretty much wait till he passes, chuck it to the outside. A good receiver is going to hold on to it. So, that is the same no matter what. Now, say you want to do this concept in a cover 4. Well, you can. I mean, say they're mixing up their stuff really well, you can still run that against cover 4. You can run it against cover 3. The only thing you can't run that on is man coverage, because the guy will stick him. But that is why either the dual slants on the left or the running back on the curl with the playmaker is going to flood man. So we'll go ahead right here once again, and then just chuck it. I mean, it's going to be easy completions. You got that. You got the curl underneath. You got the flat. You got dual streaks. It is a very good play, assuming you don't have to block anybody. Once you have to start blocking people to pick up blitzes, this formation becomes a little bit less nice without utilizing the mesh switch and the PA cross shot. So moving along, cover 4 or cover 3, anything along those lines, mesh switch is going to simply kill. And you can do whatever you want with with square, the guy that's on the left-hand side. Main thing we're doing is we're motioning the corner route out, and we're chucking it like we do with halfback wheel. So you guys know about that. I mean, simply just wait for him to cut and chuck it to him. Now, say they jump over there and they play that. You could simply hit the underneath guy. He's going to pick up 5, 6, 7 plus yards on a drag. The only other adjustment that I sometimes make when running mesh switch is I will streak the outside left guy, square. One of these days I'll figure out what a square is. Sometimes I will streak him. That way, if they're trying to bite down with their safety, you still got to pick up, you essentially chuck it to the drag. Now, if they are in man coverage, so pretty much we've shown how to kill all zones between the fade with the wheel concept. But say they are simply in man coverage. A lot of people run man rather heavy. So we'll go ahead. If they are in man, obviously you have the wheel. Just hike before he sets. And you can just bomb him with a bullet pass. You don't have to precision any direction. Also, when you do that, you'll see here, you got both crossing routes that typically get wide open. You got the square and you have the circle. Now, say they're doing something like putting their safeties into flat zones, or they're putting him in yellows, they're biting down. Well, you can motion this guy out, hike when he sets, and he's going to beat his guy. Now, obviously the safety's back deep, so it did not work, but imagine, I don't have two controllers in right now, but imagine that safety is not back there. That's an easy touchdown. We do tend to block the running back when we run this set, so we simply just max protect. And this is going to give us a little bit of protection. If you want to utilize the playmaker curl route, you really have to go out of your way and kind of ruin this play, so to speak. So it would be something like this, where you'd be motioning, you'd be trying to hit deep, but I mean it can be done. I mean, it's just not one of the plays that I recommend doing it out of. Yeah. So once again, that is mesh switch. That's pretty much what you can do with this play. Now, PA cross shot against man, you want to hike this guy when he sets, and you see get that turbo. I did not cancel the play action, screwed it up. So let's see, we'll go ahead, we'll run it again. The main setup is to streak X or slant X, and then you can do whatever you want with Y. So if you're in man coverage, I would slant X, drag Y, motion this dude across. Now you got that route right there. This kind of works as a speed out. You also have the slants drag combination. It would help if I did the right guy. Doesn't really matter though. As you'll see, slants get open, drags get open. But once again, if I see man coverage, my opponent is heavy in man, I like to slant X, drag Y. I mean, you could mix it up. You could slant triangle, drag X, motion dude across. I mean, once you get used to the reads, you just have people open. Now, if they're in cover 2 and you want to run this play, Zan mentioned doing something like this, where you're motioning the guy across. That is the look for cover 2. Not going to beat man coverage unless you are trying to face catch, which does a decent job. So that was the look for cover 2. Once again, that setup is to simply flat triangle, streak square, and motion the post across. Create that little flood concept. After you do that, you could in route. You could really mix up whatever you want. Say you need the extra protection, you could do something like this. I mean, you can really get creative out of these plays, because they all have phenomenal routes, and as long as you're utilizing motion, you're going to be able to pick and choose what your opponent has to do in order to stop you. So that's pretty much the Snugs flipped formation. Outside of that, the only thing that I don't think I've shown is Zan's ability to bomb cover 4. So we'll go ahead and just show you that. So say they come out in cover 4, you're going to streak X, curl triangle, and then motion square across, hike when he sets. And then if if I don't get absolutely screamed at, you'll have the bomb to the post. So same thing here. This time I'm blocking a running back for extra protection. Drop back, and you see, well, see me throw a pick. I threw it a bit too early, but it does work, I promise. Try it one more time. See if we can get the game to cooperate. So, simply drop back. Bomb cover 4 with a post. So, that is the gun Snugs formation. We have abilities to pop every defense deep, but the main reason we use this formation is the ability to motion players around. You'll see that I use a lot of motion in my offense, and that is just to pretty much send my opponent in a certain direction, and then as soon as I get them in that direction, I can hit other reads. It's easy to dink and dunk when we're forcing our opponent's hand. So you'll see, once again, just running through the different setups that I use for different plays. All of these work versus pretty much everything. The only thing that doesn't is Mesh Switch does not work against Cover 2. PA Bear's Wheel pretty much only works against Cover 2. Brown Switch and PA Cross Shot work against everything. But Mesh Switch is absolutely dominant versus man coverage, whereas the others focus on flooding zones. So that is the Gun Snugs flipped formation, and we're moving along.